A group message arrived from my parents. We believe it's best you step away for now. My aunt's response was a simple thumbs up emoji. I replied, understood. I'll honor that decision and also withdraw from the family fund. That very night, I ceased my financial contributions. At precisely 3:11 a.m., my phone began to buzz incessantly. By sunrise, I had accumulated 89 missed calls, and a voicemail from my dad awaited. His voicemail asked, "What occurred?" The bank flagged everything. My sole response was, "I am honoring your decision." They hadn't yet grasped the full extent of what else I had been quietly managing. "We believe it's best you step away for now." That was the precise wording of the message. Delivered, of all places, in a group chat. My parents, my aunt, and even my uncle, who seldom participated, were all present. On this occasion, however, his input wasn't necessary. Their collective silence spoke volumes. The message reached me at 7:42 p.m. on a Thursday. I was warming up leftover curry, intending to complete a spreadsheet before bed. When I saw it, "We've discussed it, and we think it's best if you step away from the family for now. Megan needs space. We all do." Below it, my aunt reacted with a thumbs up. Just like that, no phone call, no explanation, simply a thumb. I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing, "Understood. I'll respect that and step away from the family fund, too." I didn't wait for a reply. That night, I accessed the joint account I had been silently maintaining for 5 years. This was the account that covered Mom's insulin, assisted Dad with refinancing the second mortgage, and kept Megan's car operational when her paychecks were delayed. I removed my automatic contributions. Then, I closed the account. At exactly 3:11 a.m., my phone began to buzz. It buzzed and buzzed and buzzed. By sunrise, I had 89 missed calls. The final voicemail was from my dad. His voice was shaky, angry, and scared. "What happened?" "The bank flagged everything. Are you okay? Why would you, ... I responded to his message with a single sentence. "I'm honoring your decision." That was before they fully realized the extent of how much I had quietly managed. Truly comprehend why that message felt like such a betrayal. One would have to go back 5 years, back to Megan's second hospitalization, and Dad's tearful phone call from a Walgreens parking lot. "She's not going to make it, sweetie," he said. "They won't admit her without insurance. We're tapped out." That night, I emptied my savings and paid for her rehab entirely out of pocket. Megan seemed stable for a while. Everyone hailed it as a miracle, but what they never vocalized, not even once, was that I had made it possible. No one offered to reimburse me. No one even inquired about my well-being. Yet, it didn't end there. When Mom received her diabetes diagnosis, I began covering her medication. Dad's hours at the warehouse were being reduced. Megan's stability was intermittent, and each time she relapsed, they would approach me quietly, desperately. Initially, it involved minor expenses, $300 here, just for this month. Then they inquired if I could help establish something more permanent, a sort of family emergency pool. I was 27, single, working 80-hour weeks in finance. It made sense, I told myself. I could afford it, so I proceeded. I set up the family fund in my name. I managed payments for Mom's prescriptions, Megan's therapy copays, even the phone bill when they fell behind. They granted me access to everything: passwords, account numbers, balances, not because they trusted me, but because they preferred not to deal with it. They referred to me as the responsible one. What they really meant was the convenient one. My life transformed into a ledger of quiet sacrifices. Meanwhile, Megan spiraled repeatedly. She incurred a DUI in 2020, and I paid for the lawyer. She moved in with a man named Tyler, who was unequivocally not abusive, and when she abruptly left him in the middle of the night, I was the one who Venmo'd her sufficient funds for a hotel and groceries. I never saw a single dime reimbursed. They never questioned the source of the money. They never saw the meticulous line-by-line spreadsheet I maintained to keep myself afloat. They never noticed that I downsized my apartment, forwent vacations, and ate oatmeal for dinner more nights than I'd care to admit, all because I was expected to. I served as the financial firewall between them and collapse. And for a period, I was content with that. Until the Christmas incident. This occurred 2 years ago. Megan threw a tantrum because I stated I couldn't afford to buy her new tires, especially not after I had just paid her rent. She informed my parents that I was making her feel judged. That night, I received a message from Dad. Just try to be a little more understanding, Leah. She's in recovery. You don't know how hard that is. And I snapped. Not publicly, not explosively, but something inside me cracked like ice under immense pressure. I didn't reply. Instead, I did something different. I began meticulously documenting everything. Every dollar sent, every invoice paid, every excuse they offered. I created backups, emailed myself statements, and collected screenshots not to hold it over them, not yet, but to remind myself that it was real, that I wasn't imagining the financial drain, the recurring pattern, the constant pulling without any reciprocation. Then, last month, it reached its breaking point. Megan texted the family group, "Hey, I know money's tight, but could the fund cover a yoga retreat in Arizona? It's for my mental health. A yoga retreat, costing $3,200. I didn't answer. I waited, curious to see their reaction, and my dad, the very man I had pulled out of overdraft twice last year, replied, "Sounds like something you really need. Let's see what we can do." Mom chimed in with a heart emoji. That's when it dawned on me. They weren't just using me. They expected to be used. They believed the fund was inherently theirs, that I was some sort of silent, perpetual donor. The gratitude had evaporated years ago, replaced by a profound sense of entitlement. But the real bombshell, the grenade in the room, detonated just 2 nights before I received that message. We were on a family call, our monthly check-in that typically devolved into a therapy session for Megan. With me serving as the invisible ATM in the background, I attempted to discuss my recent promotion. I had been made a director at the firm, a huge raise, immense responsibility. Dad interrupted me mid-sentence. "Sorry, can we circle back to Megan's housing? She's not feeling safe in her current unit." They wanted to relocate her to a better area, with my financial assistance, of course. Naturally, I disagreed. I didn't argue. I simply stated calmly, maybe it's time someone else stepped up. Silence, cold, stony, offended. And then came that message 2 days later. "We think it's best if you step away for now." The thumbs up from Aunt Carol felt like a direct stab. They believed they were cutting me off. They didn't realize they were severing the cord to the only thing keeping their financial lives stitched together. I had been the silent current beneath their lives. The moment I withdrew, their lights went out. It took precisely 36 hours for the fallout to commence. First came the overdraft notices. Then Mom's pharmacy called me. Then Megan, the one who desired space, left a voicemail that began in a whisper and escalated into screaming. "Why would you do this? You knew I needed that payment." By Sunday morning, the texts were relentless. Dad sent a barrage of voice notes, sounding like a man unraveling in real time. They even exiled me from the family chat, as if I no longer belonged. The mortgage bounced. "I thought you handled the insurance. The car is uninsured now. What did you do to the utilities account?" "The bank locked our checking. Said there were multiple red flags. You need to fix this." "Fix this?" they demanded, as if I had caused the breakdown, as if I hadn't simply stepped back as they had requested. The real issue wasn't that I stopped providing help. It was that they never comprehended the extent to which I was holding everything together. And then came the family's Zoom call. My cousin Emily arranged it, feigning a casual chat. But the instant I joined, I saw their faces, neatly arranged in small rectangles, like a jury. Mom's lips were pressed so tightly they appeared bloodless. Dad was pacing. Megan had tears streaming down her cheeks. It seemed rehearsed. Aunt Carol sat smugly, adorned in a scarf and pearls, as if we were in family court. "Why did you do this to us?" Megan began, her voice quivering. "You just abandoned us, after everything I've done," I retorted. "You mean after I paid your rent, funded your rehab, and was mocked for saying no to your yoga retreat?" "That's not fair," she started. "Fair?" I snapped. "You want fair? How about this? For 5 years, I've covered your financial trail like a forensic janitor. I've cleaned up your messes, paid your overdrafts, bailed you out while you posted inspirational quotes about healing and alignment. And the moment I hesitate, you exile me from the family chat as if I were disposable." Mom finally spoke. "It wasn't exile. We were giving you space, too." "No, you weren't," I interjected. "You were siding with Megan again, as you always do. You simply found a polite way to tell me to disappear. So, I did." Dad folded his arms. "You didn't have to cancel the fund." "I didn't cancel it," I clarified. "I closed it. It was in my name, funded with my money, managed by me. That family fund was never a trust. It was a leash." His face flushed red. "We trusted you." "No," I countered. "You used me." Then I opened the folder beside me and clicked Share Screen. A spreadsheet appeared, rows and rows of payments, dates, amount CV. Every dollar meticulously tracked. Rent, medical expenses, utilities, repairs. Megan's retreat that I almost funded, the overdrafts I rectified, Aunt Carol's emergency dental care. Even the Uber receipts from the time I paid for Mom to get to the hospital at 2 a.m. during a panic attack. "Wow," whispered Emily. "Who even keeps all this?" Carol sneered. "Someone who knew one day you'd gaslight her into thinking she made it all up." I said nothing, simply stared at the screen. Then I clicked to the final tab. It displayed a running total, $87,000. Dead silence. Dad recoiled from the camera, as if he had been slapped. "You've been keeping tabs on us," Mom said, horrified. "No," I replied. "I've been surviving you." Megan lunged at the screen like a child having a tantrum. "You're just bitter. You've always been bitter, because no one gives you a gold star for being the good daughter. You want applause for acting? Like an adult?" "No," I stated calmly. "I just want boundaries. And I'm done being your financial safety net." "That's rich," Carol muttered. "You think money is the only thing that matters?" "No," I responded, "but it was the only thing you ever came to me for." Then I closed the spreadsheet, looked directly into the camera, and delivered the final blow. "I've already contacted the bank. All joint authorizations removed. My name is no longer on anything related to your accounts. The credit cards are closed. The shared utility auto-pays are canceled. For insurance premiums, you'll need to re-enroll yourselves. You wanted me to step away? This is what that looks like." Mom gasped. Dad's face turned pale. Megan looked as if she'd been shot. Emily leaned back in awe, but I wasn't finished. "I also spoke to a lawyer," I added. "You'll be receiving documents in the next few days. I'm dissolving any legal ties between me and the family trust that was never formalized, just in case someone tries to dip into my credit or open anything in my name again." "You're overreacting," Megan shrieked. "You're cutting us off." "I'm protecting myself," I stated. "From now on, I'm not your plan B, not your fallback, not your free ride." Dad appeared broken, but said nothing. Mom was quietly sobbing now. Megan stood up and walked off screen, slamming something in the background. Carol reached forward and ended the call without a word, and I sat back, heart pounding, hands trembling. But for the first time in a decade, I wasn't afraid of the fallout because I had nothing left to lose except the immense weight I'd been carrying for too long. The silence following that call was almost eerie. For the first time in years, my phone didn't buzz with a "Hey, quick favor," or "Can you just cover this one thing?" There were no guilt-laced voicemails, no crying emojis, no passive-aggressive posts from Megan about family who turns their back. Nothing. It was as if I had vanished. Initially, I thought perhaps they finally understood. Perhaps they were learning to be self-reliant. But I should have known better. Exactly 10 days later, I received an email from an unrecognized address. Clearly a burner, with a single sentence. "You've ruined everything." Attached were screenshots of Bill's Megan's eviction notice, a final warning from the power company, and a denied credit card application, with my name listed as the former co-signer. They were unraveling rapidly, chaotically, and the reality about people accustomed to relying on you is this: they don't fall gracefully. They crash, and they blame you for the impact. That same week, Mom appeared at my office. I was in a meeting. My assistant entered, wide-eyed. "There's a woman here. Says she's your mother. Won't leave." I stepped into the lobby, and there she was, pale, shaking, clutching an envelope full of papers. "I didn't know where else to go," she said, her voice brittle. "Your dad's sleeping on the couch. Megan hasn't left her room in 3 days. The landlord says he's changing the locks next week." I didn't utter a word, so she played her final card. "I raised you," she declared, suddenly fierce. "I gave you life, and this is how you repay us." That's when I laughed. Not loudly, not cruelly, just hollowly, like air escaping a cracked pipe. "You gave me life," I stated. "And then you spent 30 years trying to convince me I owed you for it." She flinched. I stepped forward. "I didn't come to you at 22 and say, 'Please, let me be responsible for your dysfunction. Let me carry your debt. Let me save my sister over and over again while you nod and enable her. Let me sacrifice my mental health, my relationships, my life, just so you can avoid looking in the mirror.'" She said nothing, so I continued. "You want help? Call a social worker. Call a credit counselor. Call the very system you said people like us were too proud to rely on. I'm not your bailout anymore." Then I walked back to my office. I didn't even check to see if she followed me. But that wasn't the end. A week later, I received a letter, an email, an actual letter from the bank. The envelope was thick, the kind of thickness that signifies trouble. Inside, a flagged investigation summary. Apparently, someone had attempted to open a business loan using my name, my SSN, and the tax ID number linked to the family fund. The only reason it didn't go through was that I had closed the account days earlier, triggering a fraud alert. The loan amount, $80,000. The business name, Megan Grace Recovery Services, LLC. I froze. That was not a real company. There was no LLC, no tax record, no license. Yet, the paperwork had been submitted, complete with a forged signature that matched mine. I called the bank. The fraud department representative pulled up the full packet, and when she read the co-signers, Dad and Mom, I sat in stunned silence as she said, "Ma'am, it appears someone close to you tried to pose as your authorized financial partner. If you hadn't closed that fund, this might have gone through undetected. They hadn't merely used me. They attempted to shift responsibility onto me, quietly linking my name to a loan I wasn't a part of." And that's when everything became clear. The sudden space Megan wanted, the way my parents encouraged it, the silence, the removal, the polite exile. It wasn't spontaneous. It was a calculated setup. Get me off the fund quietly. Keep my name attached. Take the money. Disappear. Let the bank pursue me when things collapsed. They didn't just want my help. They wanted to maintain my responsibility without asking. And when that failed, I became the villain in a story they had crafted to cover their own botched heist. I spent the weekend filing reports with the bank, the police, the IRS. I submitted the forged documents. I wrote an affidavit. I even provided old texts that showed Megan inquiring about starting a non-profit in my name. It took hours, but every keystroke felt therapeutic. That night, Megan called from a different number, crying. I just wanted to say, I get it now. I let her speak. She didn't mention the loan, didn't mention the forgery. Just went on about how sorry she was, how difficult things had been, how we're still family. I asked one question. Did you know about the business application? Dead silence. Then the line went dead. I blocked the number. That's when the real shift occurred, not in them, but in me. I began sleeping better. I stopped checking my bank app every night, fearing someone was quietly siphoning me again. I went to dinner with friends and didn't flinch when the check arrived. Then came the call from Uncle Ray. The outcast, the one they had labeled unstable for cutting ties years ago. He found me through LinkedIn. Saw what you did, he remarked. Heard about the fund, heard about the loan, too. I didn't inquire how. Ray had always known more than he let on. You're not the first they drained, he added. Just the first who shut the faucet off. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just about me. This was generational. A long lineage of individuals, groomed into servitude, into silence, into being the savior, while everyone else drowned themselves in denial. They believed I was the villain because I ceased playing the hero. Let me tell you something about heroes. Most of them die broke and exhausted, while everyone else applauds at their funeral. Not me. I relocated cities 2 months later. New job, better team, higher salary, no forwarding address. And one day, in the quiet of my new apartment floors, still bare, furniture still arriving, I received a message on Facebook from Tyler. Yes, that Tyler, Megan's abusive ex. Didn't expect this, it read, but thank you for helping her, even when she didn't deserve it. I wasn't the only thing she needed saving from. It stopped me cold. Not because I craved validation, but because it was the first time anyone in that orbit had acknowledged the truth, that I had been saving them from themselves until I stopped. And when I stopped, the ensuing silence wasn't guilt. It was freedom. It's been almost a year, 12 months since I closed the fund, since the group chat exile, since the 3:11 a.m. phone call that spiraled into 89 missed calls, one voicemail, and a complete financial collapse they never saw coming, since they submitted a business loan application using my name without my knowledge, attempting to frame me for $80,000 in imaginary recovery services. I kept thinking I would feel empty after walking away. That guilt would sneak in late at night, as it used to, whispering, "They're your family. Maybe you overreacted. Maybe you could have saved them." But the only thing I feel now is peace, not the performative kind. Not the kind you feign when holding back tears during Sunday dinner while someone jokes about how you're the responsible one. Real peace. The kind where your phone doesn't buzz with dread. Where your money is genuinely yours. Where your boundaries hold firm. Where you don't apologize for being free. They tried, of course. Mom emailed on Christmas Eve, claiming the tree looked emptier this year, attaching a photo of her and Dad in the living room, smiling without genuine warmth, a performance for the camera lens. Megan emailed on her birthday, in March, a 5-paragraph essay about how she was reclaiming her power, ending with a casual line about needing help covering her first and last month's rent. I didn't reply to either. I still check my credit score monthly. It's fine. There were no surprise accounts, no mysterious charges. The alerts I set up after the forgery never triggered because now I own my life, and I protect it the same way I once protected theirs. But here's the part I didn't expect. Other people started coming forward. Cousins I hadn't seen in years, coworkers I'd barely spoken to, Even a stranger on Reddit who read a comment I left in a finance thread and messaged, "Your story. I think it happened to me too." It turns out there are many of us. The strong ones, the reliable ones, the ones who pay the rent, fix the chaos, conceal the panic, and bear the weight while being told we're too cold. We are the family vaults with no locks, until one day, we learn to slam the door. Let me be clear, walking away from my family was the most difficult thing I have ever done. Harder than watching Megan relapse. Harder than deleting Dad from my emergency contacts. Harder than choosing silence while they labeled me selfish, bitter, cruel. But it was also the most essential thing I have ever done. And the final straw, the one that cemented my certainty that I had made the right decision, occurred just a few weeks ago. I was walking home from a late client meeting, on the same street I've traversed dozens of times, and there, seated outside the corner bakery, was Aunt Carol's scarf pearls, that same smug posture. She saw me, waved as if we were old friends. I nearly kept walking, but I stopped. She scrutinized me. "You look well," she remarked. "I am." There was a brief pause. Then, with zero irony, she inquired, "Would you ever consider setting something up again for emergencies?" I laughed a long, low laugh that resonated from deep within my gut. Then I calmly replied, "I did. It's called my future," and I walked away. I don't know if they will ever truly comprehend what they lost, or why I had to leave. Perhaps they'll rewrite the narrative, claiming I was greedy, unstable, ungrateful. Perhaps Megan will pen a blog post about toxic siblings and transform it into a podcast. I don't care, because the truth is simple. I'm not the villain in their story. I'm the one who finally escaped it, and in doing so, I granted myself the one thing they never could: freedom without conditions.